am back. I know you all missed me. I am your host, Dan Turner. With me, as always, is my partner in crime and sad Giants fan, Jay Felicio. How are you tonight, Jay?
I am a sad Giants fan. I'm a sad fantasy owner as well. I had to depend on Nick Foles this week in my matchup because of the bye weeks getting moved around, and I lost my home matchup by 2.5 points because Nick Foles can't hit a wide open Darnell Mooney. So I'm hurting right now, but I didn't have any expectations for the Giants, so you can say all you want. I knew they were going to suck. It is what it is, but overall, doing good. We are going to have a guest coming on, FF Fringe. He's running a little behind, but we wanted to go ahead and get rolling. So we're going to jump right into the viewer questions, and Andrew's going to join us here shortly.
Pew, 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 viewer questions. All right, first question. I got it. First question. This is from @DrakePFSS. For redraft, when ranking wide receivers, are the rookies passing veteran wide receivers in season-long rankings, such as Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, etc.? When do they start overtaking guys like Juju, Robert Woods, Tyler Boyd, etc.? What do you think?
I mean, I think they already have. Lamb, if Dak was in there, definitely, but he's taken a step back with Dalton and our boy Ben DiNucci that's going to probably be starting. I'm sure you're happy about that. Jefferson, especially Jefferson, Higgins, Claypool, I think you got to pump the brakes on a little bit. I still like him, but when Johnson's in there, it's obvious that he's the alpha dog. So I got to say, at this point in the season, we're over halfway through. You got to take what's in front of your eyes, and they're over. Juju, especially Woods. The Rams aren't really. They're running the ball. They're not passing like they have in the past. Boyd, I think, is disrespected. I think he's a wide receiver one, and people don't give him the credit. But the rest of those guys, they're all hit or miss. I got no issue. They're not really rookies anymore.
Yeah, I actually really love Boyd. It's amazing how disrespectful or disrespected he is. He's a solid guy. AJ Green isn't really what he is anymore, and people just don't seem to notice that he puts up consistent, good weeks all the time. And in terms of the question, I think that it really depends on the situation. Obviously, there are some rookies that have shown that they can be, quality fantasy starters, right out of the gate. You have your Jeffersons, Lambs, etc. And it all depends, how the veterans are doing. They could be hurt, they could be not doing as well. I know Parker is someone that's hurt. Landry has been hit or miss this year. It all depends on the specific guy. If you have like a T. Higgins or a Jefferson, who I'm dubbing the king of garbage time points because his team's always losing.
Hey, garbage time points count just
it still counts. It's still the same thing.
That's Blake Bortles and Allen Robinson in Jacksonville a few years ago. So
exactly, but I think it's on a case by case basis. But you can see pretty clearly at this point what rookies are the real deal. I can't believe it's already almost halfway. I mean, it's already halfway done the fantasy season. It doesn't even seem like it. More than halfway. Yeah, it seems like it just started yesterday.
Playoffs are, and to be honest, I really didn't think we were going to get it. So I'm ecstatic that
I am happy.
Football that we've got. It looks like we already got a question in the chat too.
Happy as a clam. Let's check out the chat. Getting there. From Sean, sup guys? Tom Brady or Ryan Tannehill this week? Go ahead, Jay. You first.
I'm sending out retweets, so let's let you get that one first. Sorry.
All right. I'm going to go with Brady. He's facing the Giants, so I mean, what really more?
They suck. I can confirm.
Yeah, what really more needs to be said? They're atrocious. Their defense is atrocious.
I will say, and I mentioned this later. Everybody's thinking with Godwin out. That Evans is going to have a really good game, and he'll be better than he has been. But James Bradbury's played really well against wide receiver ones on opposing teams. So I actually lean it's going to be more of a Scotty Miller or Scooter, as Brady likes to call him, and a Gronk game. Now, I do think, Evans is going to be decent, but he's not going to have this blow-up week that everybody thinks he's going to have.
Yeah, I really hope it's a Scotty Miller game because I picked him up in a bunch of leagues. to start with Godwin being hurt. They still have all the tight ends there. They still have Gronk and Brait. That's his name. So it shouldn't be, even with Godwin out, it shouldn't be too difficult to have
And I
some.
think I'm with you. I say Brady. I think Tannehill's going to be fine, but I think Derrick Henry's going to run it down the Bengals' throats. And I think
Yeah, no, this isn't a slight against Tannehill more than it is that Brady just has a better matchup.
Right.
Yeah. All
And
right, another question.
he's definitely a guy that is out for revenge. And say what you want about the Giants, but he's the only ones that have beat him other than your boy Nick Foles in the Super Bowl and stopped him on the undefeated season. So I could see him going out there and wanting to show the Giants up on Monday night. So.
Oh yeah, he's going to at least put 50 on them.
Yeah, I see it.
All right. We have a second question from Sean. Superflex League. Pick two of these three to start this week: Bridgewater, Matty Ice, or Matt Stafford.
Definitely got to go with Teddy B. He's playing the Falcons, who give up the most fantasy points against opposing quarterbacks. And I'm going to have to go Matty Ice as well. To have Stafford has a really tough matchup against a good Colts defense. Let me look up the stats, but they give up one of the least amount of points to opposing quarterbacks.
They were number one, and then Burrow trashed them, but they're still ranked pretty high, I think.
See, I got it right here. They give up the second fewest points to opposing fantasy quarterbacks. So, yeah, it's pretty easy for me. I'd bench Stafford and go with Teddy B and Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I have to agree with you as much as that pains me. I think that Teddy B is going to have a good matchup, like you said, with the Falcons being awful as well and finding more creative ways to lose every week. And Stafford, Stafford's hit or miss. He hasn't been, as good as he has been previously. I know he had Galladay came back; he's healthy. I just think that the Colts have a much better defense, and Matty Ice still has his plethora of weapons to throw to it. So I think from fantasy's perspective, I would go with the Teddy B and Matty Ice as well. You're welcome, Sean. Thank you for the questions. Oh, we have another one from Marty.
It's my guy, Marty.
Your guy, Marty. PPR, Ruggs or Kelly?
I'm going Ruggs.
Has to be Ruggs.
Yeah. I actually have both of these guys. Oh, there's the mustache guy right there.
It's right here.
We're waiting for you, man. Where you at? You got to go Ruggs. He's not getting the volume, but he can make your day with one play. And the Browns give up the second most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. I have a feeling that it's going to be a big Ruggs day.
I agree. He only needs that one pass for 75 yards and a touchdown, and there's your week for him. And Kelly, I just don't feel confident with the way he's been playing. When Justin Jackson's there, and so
it flipped. 2 games ago it was a Justin Jackson game. Last week was a Kelly game. I could easily see it flipping back to Justin Jackson. You can't trust him. It's hard to find running backs right now with everything going on with buys and COVID and injuries, but Kelly's going to get you 6 points. If he falls into the end zone, you'll get 12, but that's about your ceiling. I would go with Ruggs with the ceiling. Yeah, he's got a pretty low floor, but that ceiling is where it's at.
Mm-hmm. All right, one more from John. You starting Hunt or Taylor? I'm assuming Jonathan Taylor.
Whew, that's a good problem to have. I would say, you really can't go wrong, but I would lean Hunt, just simply for the matchup, and he's got the backfield all to himself. I think those who wasted money on Dearness Johnson realized that all he needed was he's not going to be much of anything. This is Kareem Hunt's backfield until Chubb comes back. He can do it all. He can run. He can catch the ball. Fantastic matchup. You got to go. Let's see. The Raiders give up the second most fantasy points to opposing running back, so it's a great matchup. I think a lot of points are going to be scored in this game. I definitely got to go with Hunt.
Yeah, especially with OBJ being hurt. They're going to need some more production reception wise. So I think it's going to be he's going to have a huge game, actually. One more. I'll do one more. How can I say no? Tannehill or Wentz?
I got to go Wentz. I think I could see Wentz being the quarterback one for this week. Even though it's going to be an ugly game, This
Oh,
offense is
really?
still going to get right.
Because
I'm
I know
sure
I
you
wasn't
want to
here
get.
last week, but I was pretty sure I heard that he would have scored the same amount of points as Dak. Did I hear that right last week?
That
I
wasn't
think
for me. You know me. As much as I hate the
but you
Eagles,
didn't argue the point. I mean,
of course.
you're supposed to
But
be, objective here, but you just let that slide. Like it was like, haha, funny.
yeah, I
Uh,
mean, Wentz is a fantastic matchup. Yeah, John, ask as many questions as you want, man. That's what we're here
yeah,
for.
it's Wentz. I just got a report that Jalen Rager's healthy. He's supposed to be playing, so that's a big plus for him. Richard Rodgers isn't Zach Ertz or Goddard, but he's doing pretty well at tight end. Fulgham is apparently the number one receiver for the team
And
from out of
Rager's coming
nowhere.
back too. Yeah, I read
Yeah,
today. So they said he's
yeah.
officially
Ward's
coming
still
back.
there. He has good hands, and the running backs are good catching the ball. So Dallas is in tanking mode. They just cut a bunch of players, so it's Wentz for me.
Yeah,
All right,
right with you.
all right.
And then there's another one from our boy Mike about what is it? J.K. Dobbins and Zach Pascal for SFBX. What do you think?
I mean, upside, I have to go Dobbins. I don't like either, to be honest. But Ingram is just toast.
Yep.
And
Well, he's not. I don't think he's playing, even if
no,
he.
yeah, exactly. And hopefully, Gus Edwards doesn't get all the carries, even though he's ruining my life. But I just pure upside. I have to go Dobbins on that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Pascal, he's probably going to get you eight or so points. 4 or 5 catches, some decent yards. If he gets a touchdown, you got a good day. But Dobbins he's got the bottom floor, but he's got the ceiling. You could have this could be his week like DeAndre Swift had a few weeks ago. His breakout party, even against the tough Steelers defense. So he's going to either get you nothing, or I could see him getting 20 plus points. So I got to go with Dobbins.
All right. Appreciate all the questions, everyone.
No, we got another one in there from Brandon Webster.
Start DJ Moore tonight or Juju Smith-Schuster.
Robbie Anderson's the number one on this offense, but I still got to go with him over Juju. I don't think the Juju hate's gone a little too far, as we shown last week. He can still produce when he's given the targets. However, it's a really tough matchup against the Ravens. So for me, I'm going DJ Moore. The Falcons defense is just awful. So I could see DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson both having a good game, especially without CMC waiting one more week to come back. So for me, it's DJ Moore.
I agree, DJ Moore there. Juju just has been kind of a disappointment, especially just this year in general. He hasn't been the same without Antonio Brown being there. I don't know if he can handle the number one role, so it'll be DJ Moore for me as well.
And Chris Riley makes a good point in the chat. Gus Bus is a solid DFS play as well. So
he is. He's a really good play this week.
You're welcome, buddy.
All right. We have a question from Jesse Garcia. This week's start, Bell or Hyde? I'm assuming this is before we got the news that Hyde was nursing some injury. So I think obviously you do Bell
just
because
for big argument. Let's say that Hyde's in.
All right, still Bell. I mean, Bell's the new toy. He's in the shiny new offense that's literally wrecking everyone.
Revenge game.
Revenge game, yes. How about that revenge game?
Less about the revenge game and more about they should blow him out, and they're not going to want to overwork Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Helaire, as they like to say, with no H. Right. And I do see that Andy Reid wanting to get Bell in the end zone at least once against the Jets. So for me, I definitely got to go Bell.
Yeah, I think Bell has something to prove. People have been saying he's done since he's been on the Jets, so I think he has a big game. All right, this is from P2W Fantasy. Do you trust Harrison Bryant to have another big week this week? Where do you rank him in for TEs? Yes, I do expect him to have a big week. I think it says a lot that the coaching staff put him at first string after Austin Hooper got hurt over David Njoku, and he performed admirably with the shot. So I think that with the injury to OBJ, they're going to lean on him some more. So I think he's going to be a really good play this week.
I'm going to disagree with you here. Granted, he had a good week, but
How dare you?
he only had 5 targets. He caught 4 balls. 2 of the 4 were touchdowns. So that's why he had such a big week. It's not a great matchup. The Raiders are right smack dead in the middle of the league in points given up to tight ends. So it's not like he's got a fantastic matchup. With the state of tight ends right now, I could see him being a decent play. But if he doesn't catch a touchdown, you're lucky if you get double digits.
I think it's hilarious that every single year we're always like, tight end is going to be really deep this year. Yep. And every single year it's literally 4 guys, and that's it. Every time.
No, absolutely.
All right. Marty has another one for us. PPR, Denzel Mims or Jerry Jeudy? I'm going to go with Mims because there's no one else on the Jets to throw to.
Was Crowder playing this week?
It's a maybe with it because, he's questionable all week. And then come Saturday,
another guy that I'm really looking to pick up everywhere I can. I think he's going to be a name that everybody's looking at. And 2, Jeudy doesn't have that great of a matchup. He's really, even as he's been the number 1, he hasn't produced. He's only had 3 at half his games over double digits. He hasn't had a single game over 15 points. The Chargers give up the 10th fewest points to opposing wide receivers, even with their banged up defense. So for me, it's Mims pretty easy.
All right, we agree. That is disgusting. This is one's from Michael Bauer. Can you start Ben DiNucci in a pinch? No.
Simple enough. The only way I would start Ben DiNucci is if it's a 1 quarterback league and you have to start somebody, and that is literally the last guy left.
Literally the last guy.
Taysom Hill before I would start Ben DiNucci.
Yes. And look who's showed up.
Hey, there we go.
Actually, 1 second, because I can't hear anything.
Oh, well. Technical difficulties. Of course.
That better?
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. That's what happens when you take 3 seconds to set up an entire thing. So hello. Hi, everything's good. All right. Hi. Thanks for
welcome to the show, Matthew.
Yeah. Nice to speak with both of you. It's better than just me yelling random crap through the Discord. So how's it going?
Good.
So what are we talking about? What's going on? What's happening?
Well, it looks like Jay is frozen.
Oh, okay. I thought he was just really happy to see me, but
he looks really happy to see him. That's great.
You tag me in, you lose Jay. That's how it goes.
I mean, that's a major upgrade as far as I'm concerned, to be honest.
So we helping the people. How we helping the people?
Hello, Andrew. Can you hear me? Hello.
Looks like you can't.
Can you guys hear me at all or no?
I can hear you. You can't hear me.
I can hear you. I'm good now. Okay. I couldn't. It might be something with the stream, but
it could be. I blame Jay. He messes up everything and just leaves.
Makes it easier. You blame the guy who dips out. Had a hurricane come through his house. Whatever.
No excuses. He got his power back. I don't want to hear it. Andrew,
I can't hear anything.
Andrew, can you hear us? He can't hear us.
Seems like he cannot.
Okay.
You know what? It is. And he's gone. Okay.
All right. So you're here.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to continue with the show because this is great.
Okay.
All right. So we have another question from an Aaron on Facebook. In your opinion, why do people value potential over production in dynasty leagues? Why are people always trading productive guys for picks? Isn't the point to get production and win? What am I missing? What's your thoughts on that?
So I'm a new guy to Dynasty, right? Even though I worked for a site called Dynasty Happy Hour, I was a fraud because I'm a redraft boy at heart. So what I can see is, I think right now is we need to decide: are you a contender or you're a pretender? Are you going to be a team that's going to compete for the playoffs or not? So if you can, welcome back to Jay. Hello, Jay.
My power flickered. We got pretty bad wind in North Carolina right now, so I was without power earlier again. So there we go. Whole gang's here now. What's up, man?
If he's having some issues with the hearing. I had one as well. I had to plug it actually into my mic instead of my normal computer. It's very strange. But at least to finish out answering the question, I think the big thing is figuring out where you stand. So if you're a player who can, let's say you're moving, I just made a trade with someone in the league. I acquired Devontae Adams for a bunch of picks and Tyler Boyd. Now, Boyd, awesome right now. Devontae Adams, I want to try and win this year. I made a team that was focused on winning this year. So you just have to figure out what is your setting for it's going to be for the rest of the season, because getting future picks, not a bad idea, because really the teams that are at the top, they're all just kind of colossus fighting each other, and you kind of pick up what you can from there on out.
Hey, what are your thoughts? Do you want me to repeat the question?
Was it the one about potential value?
Yes, in Dynasty, right?
Yeah. So for me, it's always everybody wants the shiny new toy. Everybody gets excited. Oh, I want rookie picks. I want what's going to turn into Saquon Barkley or what's going to turn into Odell. You know what I mean? And it's the thing in Dynasty is, if you got a shot to win now, do it now. I think you can take advantage of people that want that overvalue picks. Because they're hit or miss, and flags fly forever. For me, I want to make that push. I want to try to win the championship this year. If the window's open, there's so much that goes into it, so much luck. If you've got the chance now, do it now. So it's something that I think it's good to take advantage of people that do overvalue draft picks. So for me, like I said, it's just the whole shiny new toy effect that everybody wants those picks.
For me, picks are pretty much worthless. I'm always trading. I don't think I have a first round pick in my one Dynasty league until 2023.
Wow.
I always want to just trade the first, second round picks for younger guys that are on the cusp of breaking out. I always want proven production over the 50-50 shot that the person's going to be somebody. What really bugs me is someone that hits on like a good first round pick, like a CEH or whatever, and then turns around and trades him for another pick next year. I'm like,
right.
You're supposed to pick the good guy and keep him.
Right.
Yeah, again, being new to Dynasty, I tried to build. I went in 2 Dynasty leagues. One I built for the future, Superflex. So I took like Allen and Mahomes. I'm like, all right, cool. They're the quarterbacks for the next decade. And then the team I built for just this year and traded away all my picks to get, just this year sort of potential. That team's exceptionally more fun. So yeah. I'm happy with looking like an absolute unit and not being, I guess I'll start whatever third guy I picked up off the waiver sort of deal. So I like that more.
All right, got some questions in the chat here. Let's chat this one. Thoughts on Chris Herndon in Dynasty? Hold and see how he produces with Trevor Lawrence. No, don't hold.
Yeah, I'm out on Chris Herndon. I feel like he's that guy, like we were talking about earlier, Matt, before you hopped in.
Hi.
Every year it's like, tight end is so deep this year. We're going to have plenty of tight ends to choose from. And then it winds up being 2 to 3 guys. And Herndon's that guy that just every season he's always hyped. It's like Kyle Rudolph a few years ago. Every year you heard, Kyle Rudolph, this is going to be his year. This is going to be his year. And it just never materializes. So for me, I'm out on Herndon.
Matt?
He wears a Jets jersey, correct? Is he still wearing a Jets jersey next year?
Very good point.
Maybe.
That's kind of it for me. Jameson Crowder right now is the only player that has even like short-term value until like week 14 where Frank Gore is like looking real nice, especially in the Baby Bowl. I'm currently the champion, by the way.
I've heard that you're pretty high up there.
But I was making a joke. I'm like, in a few weeks, running back is as it is. That's a different story. But tight end, I was one of the few people also that said, wow, there's like 20 tight ends I could start this year. And now there's like, you get past Darren Waller and you're like, wow, I'm happy for like 6 points. So it's kind of how it is at the moment, unfortunately. Right.
If you don't have a Kittle or a Kelsey,
yeah,
you get, you're looking at 5 catches for 30 yards and you're happy if you get a touchdown. That's pretty much all you're getting.
Yeah, you're hoping he's like the backup kicker and kicks you a field goal. So
right, exactly.
That's kind of what it is right now.
All right, we have another question from Josu. Sorry.
UCLA.
Josu, yeah. Pick up John Brown or Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley. I think that he's doing really well. Underrated, in fact, in PPR. He's getting plenty of targets.
Pull it up real quick. His stats are like he's like a back end wide receiver one or at points per game. Like it's ridiculous. I'm pulling up the stats right now, but yeah, John Brown is that typical boom bust guy, but he can't. I've been a big fan of his forever, but he just can't stay on the field. And the offense, I don't think, is the same without him, but he can't get on the field.
Yeah, Beasley, I mean, last week with Stephon Diggs getting hurt early was just pretty much we're just going to work him in a ton. But normally it's just been a factor, just like if you can't score points if you're technically not playing football, right? And John Brown currently has an issue with staying healthy. So Cole Beasley, I think he's pretty good for like 12 fantasy points. If 12 fantasy points helps your week, anything more than that, I think you're pretty good with that. A flex for 12 points that you're pretty much like penciling in, I think I'd start with 12 points every week and be pretty happy about that.
Yeah, he is wide receiver 20 on points per game ahead of guys like Robert Woods, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp. I mean, you could do much worse than that. And he's a rock solid wide receiver 3 that, he gets a touchdown or 2. You could have a really big day.
Jay, I just gotta say, because it's first, I tune in sometimes, but hearing your accent like straight through the headphones, I know you were born up with me in New York, but you really picked up the Southern accent.
Yeah, we moved down. I was born in New York when we moved down when I was 4 years old, so I'm more of a Southern guy than I am. I still pull for my Giants, my Yankees, unfortunately the Knicks, but I do have a little bit. It's funny that people down here still say I have a Yankee accent, and then all my family in New York say I have a Southern accent. So
oh no, it's very I'm a
Carolina Hurricanes.
All right. Another question. Recently traded Gardner Minshew, Crowder, and Andrews for Lamar. Then moved Lamar and Juju for Dak, Metcalf, a first and a second. Good move or concerns for Dak?
No concerns for Dak at all. I think that's a fantastic move, especially to get DK, who is in the conversation for Dynasty wide receiver 1. I love how every week, as soon as somebody has a good week, oh, they're the Dynasty wide receiver 1, and then somebody else has a good week. Oh, they're the Dynasty number 1. So you put all these guys in the same basket. If you have a guy like DK Metcalf in Dynasty, you're set. You don't have to worry about your wide receiver 1 position. Dak, as much as I love Lamar Jackson, I think Dak is just as a good quarterback for fantasy purposes. Plus the picks, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I like Juju and Lamar. We know where he's locked in. Juju, we were talking about that on the Monday show. Now I'm actually on all the war room shows for you guys. I go from 0 to all of them. Juju, I think we were talking about. I believe he's pretty much not a lock to not be in Pittsburgh next year. Dak, do you guys think Dak resigns with Dallas? Because currently, I would believe that would be the best spot for him value wise. I think it's still a good trade. It's just a matter of, do you think Dak is re-signing with the Cowboys? I'd love him to, but does he?
I think he does. I think he's too big of a star there. I think Jerry Jones is going to do the right thing. I don't think they're going to franchise him. I think they're going to figure out. I think they're going to come to terms on a long-term deal this year. I could be wrong on that, but I just feel like they're going to take the situation and kind of meet in the middle and get something done. He wants to be there. They want him there. They saw with Dalton, who they thought was a fine backup. Not at all.
I mean,
I still think how many people were like, "Oh, Dalton's going to be this solid back end quarterback 1." Like, it's Andy Dalton. Like, that's my argument. It's Andy Dalton. He's the definition of a mediocre quarterback. I've said that about 16,000 times. They need Dak, and I think that they're going to pay him.
I'm going to disagree with both of you.
Okay.
I don't think Dak goes back to Dallas.
Okay.
I think that that Jerry playing hard to get with his contract is going to leave a bad taste in his mouth. And I think that if Jerry is to be believed and the Cowboys really are taking for a quarterback, even if they don't get someone like Trevor Lawrence, they could end up with Justin Fields or someone like that. And they could pay him like a rookie salary with the quarterback and let that go. So it really all depends in that scenario where Dak goes, whether to be concerned or not. I'm sure he'll be fully healed from his injury. If he can go to a good system with some weapons, then he'll be just fine. But I don't think that he comes back to Dallas next year.
You have a landing spot in mind where you prefer him to go? Like, you want him to go to Minnesota? You want him to go to?
I think in Minnesota, he would do really, really good in Minnesota. If the Vikings don't keep Cousins, then him with that running game and those receivers and tight ends, he would do really solid there.
You know where I really love him to go? It's Tampa Bay.
New York Giants.
No, Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay is my number one spot too. Honestly, I was going to say Tampa Bay.
But Godwin might not be there next year. Godwin's a free agent.
That'd be amazing to see him in Tampa with that coaching staff and those weapons.
If Godwin comes back.
Yeah, I think they have some cap space. They should be able to resign him. I could be wrong. I have no the cap.
Almighty dollar. Who knows? You might want to go somewhere else.
Yeah. All right, let's have another question here from Marty. In Dynasty, I have Cam Akers and Henderson. Would you keep them both or try to trade one for picks?
I would redraft. I wouldn't. I don't like having both guys in the same backfield because you're limiting yourself. But Dynasty, in this situation, you could, at this point, you really could see either one of those guys becoming the top dog. So I would go ahead and hang on to both of them. That way you've locked up that backfield, and a running back in that system is very valuable in fantasy, as you can see. The thing that knocks them all down right now is they're still divvying up the carries to everybody. If one of them becomes the bell cow that you saw with Todd Gurley in 2017, he could be an absolute stud.
Yeah, preseason, I wanted it to be Akers or I wanted it to be no one, and now it's the flip. I want it to be Henderson or I want it to be no one because I wasn't really buying into that situation. I really thought it was going to be pass.
Yeah.
Two things happened. One, Darrell Henderson just didn't get enough work last year to showcase how good of a talent he is. This is a guy, I think, the last year of college rushed for in total yards, and it was over 2,000. So college being whatever it is, not a big college guy, mate. But the other thing was defense. They have shown up defensively in a big way. So let's not make Goff put into situations where he's going to turn the ball over or be in spots where I know you have Woods and Kupp. Let's not make it, though, where he has more shots to mess up. It's what I think the Cleveland Browns are going to do more of with Baker Mayfield, which you can read at goingfor2.com. The Browns better off without Baker Mayfield. Look, we're plugging here.
Company man.
But they're really doing a good job of just, Malcolm Brown mixes in, especially week one. We thought, okay, I guess it's Malcolm Brown time. Then Darrell Henderson shows off that he is what he is. But I have to somewhat agree with Jay. As of right now, there's no guarantees that's Henderson going into 2021. Why spend the pick? And you showcase rookies in their first, on their rookie contract. You want to see what they look like in the first few years. Otherwise, why even spend the pick on them whatsoever? Right now, also the other thing, that offensive line, Andrew Whitworth at 38 years old is the second best tackle in football right now.
Unreal.
They're playing just really solid football after a year last season where they were very up and down and needed a big offensive surge late to even look like a competitive team whatsoever. So currently, I think they're getting a little bit more of what our identity is going to be. And McVay is a very smart person, and I think he's going to make the most of his offensive players. So currently, I wouldn't try to move away from them unless you're going to get adequate value back. And I think right now it's just too messy to determine what adequate value is for either of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you should keep both and just see. You never know with injuries or how it's going to play out. One might go to a different team and become the lead back there. So I don't think the return on investment you get for either of them right now is high enough to justify moving either of them. And Matt, I know you're new here, but the number one rule here is no one is allowed to agree with Jay.
I was waiting for that.
No one.
Well, I can play by those rules, again.
Hey, if you can play by those rules, we'll be good. But absolutely, no one is
Dan
allowed
agrees with me more than he likes to admit.
I do. It's really bad. All right, one more from Gerson. Who is your buy low rookie wide receiver right now that you think can break out this year? Still, I'm going to go with my boy Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, Homer.
That's right. Well, hey, he's been injured, so he's kind of been out of the public eye for a while. He should be fully healthy. He's going to be at worst the number 2 receiver in that offense. So I think the recipe is there for him to still have a really good year for the rest of the year.
What do you think, Matt?
It would be Reagor because Reagor was my favorite rookie wide receiver go into 2020. Is it kind of weird that it actually might be CeeDee Lamb because everyone's so out on the Cowboys? And I know that's it's a little bit of a cop out because 2 weeks ago we're thinking this is a top 50. 2 weeks ago we were thinking this is the top 15 wide receiver possibly, and considering how the offense was when Dak was still upright and playing. But currently, I was offered a deal today for Ezekiel Elliott, and other pieces in there, and it was involving like Jonathan Taylor and Keenan Allen. I was like, I want no part of Dallas until I can really feel about, they're 70% of what their value was just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So Lamb might be the answer just because everyone's treating them like kryptonite. You don't want any piece of Dallas right now. It's really sad.
It really is.
I was on with the Dynasty Junkies last night, and one of the questions we talked about was, what are you going to do with all the guys in Dallas? And that's what I said. I think especially in Dynasty, 2-3 weeks ago, there was zero chance you were trading for CeeDee Lamb in Dynasty. But now with everything that's going on in the Dallas offense, you've got that little crack open that somebody might be frustrated, or it could be somebody who is pushing for it this year and needs somebody who's going to produce, that you might be able to get Lamb in Dynasty. So I definitely think that's a really good call, more so in Dynasty versus redraft, because his production this year is just going to be too up and down. I think he's going to be the most reliable out of the 3 Dallas wide receivers, but this year strictly, it's somebody who, you got to downgrade the entire Dallas offense. I'm going to go with Henry Ruggs. He's somebody who I was high on, and he's still only getting roughly about 3 targets a game. But I think as the season goes on, you're going to see him take over as the alpha dog in this offense, so they can score points. One thing you got to say about Derek Carr is he can throw the deep ball, and Henry Ruggs can definitely burn it. He's week 5, he had only 2 catches, but 118 yards and a touchdown. So I could see him turning into Deshaun Jackson in his prime. And as a Giants fan, I know how good that can be because he always burned us pretty bad. So
yeah, you do.
Yeah,
you do.
Somebody who I was high on, and I think he would already be up there if it wasn't for the injury that he was dealing with earlier in the season. So he's somebody I think is a good buy.
All right. So now we're going to jump into a couple of Jay's 10 things for week 8.
And just real quick before we hop in that, Dan, people are wondering where the Unicorn Fringe and Andrew Fringe. We had some technical difficulties and some issues they weren't able to be on, so that's why Matt hopped in with us. We're going to hopefully reschedule them, but I just wanted to address that and technical difficulties with me dropping out with the power going out. So Matt's going to wing this, so appreciate you hopping on and making it happen. So
I mean, that was like the best show we ever had when you were gone. Matt was just here by himself.
No, the best show we had is when you weren't on last week.
That's ridiculous. I saw the numbers. That show was the lowest rated show of all time.
Nice job.
I hope people are not tuning out because they're expecting other people here, and it's like this goof.
No, no.
All right,
please. Listen, okay. First off, you guys decided to schedule me behind the guy who works for NFL Network and FTN. And I was like, it's those guys other than me. And I'm like, all right, this is.
It's all good, man.
Give yourself some credit, man.
It's the show for all people, and you're one of us now too. So
it's true. I still have the mentality. I'm the new guy, and no, I am I'm part of the collective, as Jeff said. So
yeah, exactly. And we do. You want to grab that question? Since that's first priority. We got another question. Let's
make
grab
a point that Jeff dropped a Borg reference in the chat, and it was quite embarrassing. I just wanted to point that out.
I mean, I'm not a Star Trek fan, but I knew what he was talking about.
Right. I think all of us did. So who's that embarrassing for?
Yeah, all of us, really. All right. So the first question up: will Le'Veon Bell's workload increase as the season goes along? You want to start this off, Jay, since it's your thing?
Yeah, I'll give Matt a chance to collect his thoughts. I do think, to a certain extent, everybody was thinking that he was going to come and take over, but I think CEH owners can breathe a sigh of relief that this is still going to be his backfield. I could see it being around a 60-40 split, and games that they're up big, which with this Kansas City offense you could see pretty often. I think those are the games that you're going to want to play Bell. Which this week is going to be one of those, especially with the revenge factor going on. I think there's almost no way that Bell doesn't score a touchdown this week. I think CEH is locked into a high-end running back 2, where he's definitely going to have plenty of RB1 weeks. I think Bell is a back-end RB2, more of a flex. You can be happier about starting him in the games that they should be up big. So I do think that Kansas City signed him more of a insurance policy and a way to keep Edwards-Helaire fresh versus somebody that's going to take over. And, if you got a guy like Bell that's willing to come there for next to nothing when you're trying to win another championship, you don't say no.
Yeah, Bell feels very much like you see sort of trades like this happen in basketball or sort of situations where it's like, you know what, I'll stick around as a sixth man. Let's see how it goes down, and we can try and win ourselves a little championship here. Le'Veon Bell, 17 snaps. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 27 last week. Again, in his first touch, he matched his 16 yards or more production in all his games that he played for the New York Jets. Here's the thing with Bell. Yes, it's a revenge game, but also this is what, the fifth highest fifth highest spread in the past 2 decades. Le'Veon Bell, I think, is going to get a good amount of run this week. And the only issue I have is people might take that as the now normal instead of just a one-game situation. Patrick Mahomes finished as the 22 quarterback in terms of points per game last week. Points finish. Because they didn't need – they're playing awesome defense, and they're just hammering the rock with Clyde. Sure, he's not scoring a ton of touchdowns. I think it was his first of the season last week. But this is a team that doesn't need to just air it out so much. Them and the Ravens have really been awesome real-life teams, terrible fantasy teams for the most part. Because even though Kelsey and Hill have been good, have they really been what we paid for? I kind of feel like they haven't been. This week, I am aggressively ranking the Chiefs. I have Patrick Mahomes as my QB 12. Wow. Got a little bit of pushback on that. Currently, he's the number one.
You got ahead of him that we really be surprised about.
Yeah, he's just really, really right now just not scoring enough for us to be kind of worried about, a little bit worried about him for an overall matter. And again, back to Bell, I think this is a good Bell spot just because, man, does it feel like 30 points are going to be scored in that first half, and you're just hoping that your Chiefs are the ones who score it. And I just don't feel good about this entire game being competitive, at all.
As far as Bell goes for me, I agree with Matt. I don't think this game is going to be competitive. I think the point spread can't be too high. I think that people may be overestimating Bell's role in the Chiefs for the rest of the season. I think they assume that he's going to just bump CH down to, just the change of pace guy and take the heavy workload. And I just don't see it that way. I mean, they spent a first round pick on him for a reason. They obviously like him. Yeah, he's had his trouble with the goal line and not scoring as many touchdowns, but I don't think that Bell is going to get as much of the workload going forward as people expect him to. So I think that if they are, they would be disappointed.
It might be a good time to sell high after this week if Bell does have a big game. As somebody who does believe that he is going to be a big part of this offense.
100%.
And we do have another question in the chat. I'm not sure if you saw that or not.
I have eyes. I can see. I saw it. God. All right. This is from Christian. Is it worth it to start Ridley and DJ tonight? I have 2 flex, full PPR. He also has A.J. Brown, Galladay, Debo, Crowder, and Devontae Parker.
All right. That's a lot of ticket. And he also said 2 wide receivers as well. So hope Le'Veon doesn't have a big game. Snag CEH in that league as well. Bell's role will basically be Kareem Hunt with Chubb healthy.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good comparison.
Yeah.
All right, so Matt, we'll let you take this one first. So start Ridley and DJ tonight.
I actually go Ridley and then AJ Brown. Currently my full PPR. If that's right, full PPR. My rankings are for full PPR. Currently have Calvin Ridley 4th overall wide receiver. I have AJ Brown 6th, and then I have DJ Moore right behind at 7th. If you want to go ahead and start Moore over Brown, they're 1 spot away. So that's a personal decision, but I personally go Brown over Moore. I like him a lot against that Cincinnati Bengals secondary. Otherwise, Galladay, not necessary this week. Playing against the Colts, not a fun time, I think. So on the other 2, we can kind of just cross out, Debo and Crowder.
Yeah, Debo's out for a few weeks. So.
Yeah, but not a bad receiver crew for sure. That's a
very good problem to have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm with you. Ridley and AJ Brown for me. AJ Brown, I think, is taking that step into the top tier of the league in wide receivers. I think before the end of the season, he's going to be a guy that you're plugging in no matter the matchup. And Ridley's headed that way too. And although I could see Ridley disappointing because the Panthers defense has surprisingly been decent against opposing passing offenses because they've been so terrible against the run. I could see Ridley not getting the big game that you would expect, but you can't bench him for any of those guys.
And Wynn is good. for tonight, right? No
Yeah,
wind?
yeah. As
Okay.
far as it's, I don't think it's too bad where it's going to affect the passing game. You're going to have a little bit of wind, but not enough to have an effect. So for me, it's got to be Ridley and AJ Brown as well.
I would start Ridley and Galladay. AJ Brown is going to do really well this week, but I just like Galladay more, even with the tough matchup. I think that AJ coming off that injury is a little concerning to me. I know that he was reportedly healthy, but it still gives me pause a little bit. So I would go with Galladay and Ridley this week.
I mean, he's only scored over 20 points with the same injury the past 3 weeks, so I'm not too concerned about the injury myself.
Well, good for you.
Just throwing it out there.
All right, let's get to another one of your questions. What is Antonio Brown's impact on Evans and Godwin? Let me take this one first. I need to take this one first.
Okay, you go.
So this is all your fault because you're the one that said several weeks ago, "Oh, Antonio Brown's going to get signed," and watch him be like this awesome receiver. Now everyone's acting like Antonio Brown's going to step right in and be 2015.
What did I say about picking up Antonio Brown?
It's a bad move.
No, what did I say? Pick him up and do what?
Trade him.
Trade him.
There you go. That's what you got to do. The hype for Antonio Brown is unreal right now. You can make out, and he was free. I mean, he was available on almost every waiver wire. That was my point. I didn't necessarily say he was going to come and produce. You pick him up, you flip him.
Now you have people going crazy on Twitter saying you should cut these guys, and it's like, this is your fault. But to answer the question, I think that
you're welcome, Christian, for answering your question. Feel free to ask any more.
Absolutely, I think it's more going to be the death of Scotty Miller as a viable fantasy option than it affects either of those guys. If Godwin's out for any length of time, maybe he gets a little bump, but we don't know what kind of shape Antonio Brown's in. He hasn't played football for a long time. He's going to a new system, brand new offense, pretty much right off the street. And I just think that people are expecting way too much too quickly with him. He might, run into form and be decent, but I don't think he's ever going to be, his Pittsburgh heyday Antonio Brown, which I think is what a lot of people are expecting him to be.
Yeah, my big thing was one, I didn't really consider it any sort of problem to go and pick up Brown. I picked him up in 11 of 13 leagues. The other two, he was drafted and kept on a bench the whole season. So that was interesting to find that out for a few teams. But Antonio Brown, I think first off, Evans, this week, he's fine. I'm using him in the baby bowl. I have no shame saying that. You can all steal that. I'm in first place trying to catch up people. But the other thing is, Evans has been bad when Godwin's been active. How bad has he been, Matt? Let me tell you. In the 4 games that Chris Godwin and Mike Evans have been active, this is Chris Godwin's targets, receptions, yards, and touchdowns. 29, 25, 279, and 2. Here's Evans. 12 targets, 6 receptions, 82 yards, and 3 scores. Now, he's scoring a lot of touchdowns. He's got 6 in total. But, man, 27 targets, 19 receptions, 267 yards. That's without Godwin in 3 games. Without him in there, he's basically a wide receiver 1. With Godwin active, he's like a wide receiver 4. And that's a problem. Now, Scotty Miller, yes, he can go. He's a replacement. He's just filling in. We like his time. He's a substitute teacher, right? He's been very good for us. But otherwise, when Antonio Brown is there, yes, football shape, good thing you brought that up, because now I am nowhere near football shape. I'm in 0.1% of football shape. I have no reason to laugh at Daniel Jones not able to run further than 80 yards. I can't run 8 yards. So
someone brought that up.
So here's the thing. Yes, it's going to take him a little bit. At least last year when he looked at good in week 1, he was good in week 1 because, he went through training camp, whatever amount it was, with the Raiders and then going to the Patriots. But now he's got to pick up a whole playbook, and he's got to still wait another few weeks to actually be active. He won't be active at least until week 9. And then you have him being gone again in week 13 because that late bye, whatever reason the NFL thought that was a good idea. So yes, is he going to be like a wide receiver 3? Sure. But could he just be nothing? Yes. But Mike Evans, I think, gets affected either way because we've seen this little work with Godwin, who apparently is only going to just miss 1 week with the finger. I don't know how about that. I broke my hand. I was out for 2 months. I don't know how to come back with a finger injury like that. But man, I just can't get behind Evans. I have one team with Evans. I think that was the Warrior Bowl. And no one wants to even look his way. He's just, whatever the Cowboys value is, he's less than that right now. And that really stinks. And I feel for Evans. I know, like last year, most of his points, though, came in like 3 games. We've seen this with him. And he was better with Winston. Winston, who could throw the ball 55 yards. Now, Brady's doing a little bit of that this year, admittedly. But still, the person who matches up well for Brady, I think, is Godwin the best, then Brown. Gronkowski is a thing. I thought he was the most donkey pick you can make this year.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Awesome. He's also starting for me in the Baby Bowl. Go ahead and start him too, guys. You won't catch me. No, I'm going to screw it up so bad.
Watch you do nothing this week now. You're hyping him up.
I don't know how I'm winning that thing, man. That's why I put the Ralphie just waving, because I'm just a big old dummy with this stuff.
You fit in perfect here because we are too, so that's fine. But you pretty much said it all, man. I couldn't agree more. I think Evans is the one that gets affected most. Godwin plays the game that Brady likes to play. I think, of course, he's going to take some targets away, but I don't think Godwin is really going to be affected a whole lot. I think it's going to be the same situation with, Gronk turning it on. It looks like he only just needed a few games to get his feet back under him. Evans is somebody who I would not drop, contrary to what certain people are saying on Twitter. But, he's somebody that you really can't rely on. If Godwin moves on, then in dynasty wise, Evans might be a good buy low right now because you can get him for pretty cheap. There's no guarantee that Godwin's going to be back. Granted, next year you don't. It's a big question mark and it's a chance because we really don't know what's going to happen in Tampa Bay next year. Is Godwin going to be back? Is Brady going to be back? Who's the quarterback going to be? So there's a lot of questions. But strictly for this year with the Antonio Brown situation, Jake Seeley of The Athletic, he's somebody who I respect his opinion tremendously in the industry. And he put it, I think, a really good way. With Dak in there, the Buccaneers offense is very similar to what the Cowboys were going to be. And that's where you could see Antonio Brown playing the Amari Cooper role of boom bust. He could still have those high highs, but he's got that bottom, that zero floor. CeeDee Lamb and the Godwin role. Godwin in the CeeDee Lamb role, where he's going to be the safest. He's going to have the most consistent games and still have that ceiling. And then you're going to have Evans kind of like Michael Gallup, where if he catches a touchdown, you're happy. If not, he's not going to do much. So it's not necessarily their skill set or anything like that, but just the role that they're going to play in that offense that is mirrored what the Cowboys looked like at the beginning of the year. And I just think that's a really good way to try to consider it and put it out there for what the Bucs could look like when Antonio Brown, like you said, it's going to take him some time to get back up. Look how long it took Gronk, who was expecting to play this year.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So and plus now if the Giants are dealing with COVID, there's rumors that they could push the game back. So if that happens, Antonio Brown's going to miss. I know it's like everywhere you turn, but let's just say for the sake of argument, they push the game back. Now that's Antonio Brown's going to miss 2 more games because he can't play this week. So it's going to be if you can sell Antonio Brown, sell him for whatever you can get because it's guys trade value is never better than when they're coming back from an injury and coming back from suspension because everybody's all hype on what could be, and we just don't know. So I think he's definitely, if you're able to get anything for Antonio Brown, you take it and you're happy.
All right, good stuff, guys. We got a couple more questions on the chat from the FF Rain Man. Not great options, but should I start Matty Ice or Cam Newton?
Matthew Ryan by a mile. Yeah. He has Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones.
Cam Newton has nobody because Julian Edelman's out. So
yeah,
and Matt Ryan for me, no question.
Yeah, it's Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan over Patrick Mahomes. That's how confident I am in Mahomes being not good for fantasy this week.
Yikes.
Listen, I've been in top 10 in Fantasy Pros twice this year, my man.
All right.
Little dust.
The headphones aren't going to fit that head anymore.
I'm surprised your head could fit in the screen.
Right? Jeez.
I feel like I have to now create like a different personality. Like on Discord, I'm like, I hope I'm good at this, guys. Like, am I helping the site out enough? And now you're like, yeah, it's good. Shut up. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, you're great. We know. Stop talking.
I'm trying to
All right, we have one more question from Marty. Next year in redraft, how high would you draft guys like Debo, Ayuk, and Chenault? Would they ever be wide receiver 2s or just wide receiver 3s?
Well, I have an undying love for Chenault. The big thing with him is going to be, one, who the quarterback is in Jacksonville, and two, who the head coach is. Because how can you have a guy like Laviska Chenault, every time he touches the ball, you can see that he's explosive, and Keelan Cole is getting more targets than him. I just don't get it. It looked, it started to look promising at the beginning of the year. His targets were going up, up, and up. He was involved in the backfield. Chenault, I definitely think, has that wide receiver 2 upside. It's too hard to say right now because we don't even know if Minshew's going to be the starter this week, let alone the rest of the year and who they wind up inevitably drafting next year. Debo and Ayuk, Debo can't really stay healthy. If Debo stays healthy, they kind of eat into each other's value because they play the same type of game.
Yeah.
So if Debo's out, Ayuk's value shoots up. But if Debo's still in there, it's really hard to say. I think they're going to be, kind of like even though they're running backs, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, where they play a similar game, they eat into each other's values. They cap their upside because one guy's going to have a big game here, another one's going to have a big game there, and you can't predict it. So I think there's still solid middle round guys. I would love to have any of those as a wide receiver 3 next year, but there's too many question marks to be able to make that kind of call right now.
I think the one who has the best shot, and I kind of agree with you in terms of what's the quarterback, what's the head coach, it's got to be Chenault. The less they do all that stuff in the backfield, run around, taking hits by linebackers and dudes who can crunch a wall in, the less that happens, I think the better Chenault looks. And the problem with the Jaguars right now, you cannot trust any of them to be the guy. It was Cole one week, it was Chark the other, it was Chenault the third. And the issue right now is, well, if you have that sort of game plan, that's not good for fantasy. Should be fine for them for real life. Problem is they're a really crappy team. But Debo and Ayuk are like the exact same player. Do less of like the jet sweeps, do less of like all this gadget stuff. We can start talking about, actually considering one a real NFL fantasy football player. But as of right now, that 49ers offense is like, let's work with the tight ends. Let's run, be the best running team in football. Shanahan's great coach. Doesn't really care about the wide receivers that much. So I kind of can't get behind either of them. I think the highest I had, I had Debo at any point this offseason, my preseason ranks was about like wide receiver 32. So that's about what the ceiling is, I think, for any of them going into at least redraft next year. Because receivers getting a lot better this year. A lot of the rookie receivers, you're going to have just a bigger list of guys. And it's going to be more competitive as to who is that higher quality. So I can't say any of them will be wide receiver 2s currently at this moment.
Yeah, I think you both touched on it pretty well. I think, to your point, Jay, Debo and Ayuk pretty much play the same game, so it kind of depends on the injury for either of them for the other to realize their full value. And I know I was joking on you with Visca with JJ outscoring him, but with the good quarterback, I think that he can turn out to be a solid wide receiver 1. So of those, I think Visca has the best shot. But I would wait and see how they do before counting on any of that.
And the thing too with the 49ers offense is that passing offense goes through George Kittle. So there's no way, no matter how productive they are, they're not going to be, it's the running game and George Kittle and then whatever's left. So
yeah. All right. So we touched on actually all of my rookie guys. So we can just pass right on by that. Good job, everyone, on that count. So we're going to head on up to Thursday Night Sleeper. Matt, in case you don't know what this is, we pick a guy. You do know?
I do not know. No.
Oh, okay.
Hit me with it.
So we pick a guy that isn't, might not be, household name.
The term sleeper is overused where we try to get it in the traditional sense that, we're not going to say, oh, Calvin Ridley's a sleeper, a deep dive, a deep sleeper, somebody who, that in most leagues you wouldn't start. If you're desperate, this is somebody who, has potential to produce in it if you're in a tight spot.
All right, Jay, let you go first. Let Matt, find someone real quick.
We talk. I have someone in mind, but I don't think he's enough of a deep dive sleeper. I think it's more just a matchup based thing. But continue.
Well, I went with Brian Hill.
Okay, so there
for
goes
a few
mine.
reasons. Well, there you go. Well,
ruined
and I'm
everything.
sure you're probably thinking the same thing. One, yeah, I ruined everything. The two things. One, the matchup. The Panthers are terrible against the run. Two, Todd Gurley is 175 years old, and they are coming off, playing on a Thursday night. He got a lot of touches on Sunday. He's gonna need some extra, not rest, but he's gonna need somebody to help spell him more than he would on a normal game. And Brian Hill has done pretty decent when he's been in there. So with all those things considered, I could see Hill getting a touchdown, getting some decent yardage. So if you're in a tight spot with running back, as everybody is this year, with injuries and everything going on, I think you could see Hill producing. So Matt, anything I missed on there?
No, and here's the I kind of like a slick smile on my face for a second because man, I really want to say Younghoe Koo. Just talk about some kickers here to really throw them off.
Oh yeah, I'm team man kickers.
Say them.
But here's another thing. If we're talking about sleepers, right? Does Teddy Bridgewater classify as a sleeper in that? I know there's only 2 starting quarterbacks that are in this game, but he's got potential to put up top 12 kind of caliber, for this week. Issue is, what is his normal week-to-week pass involvement? I think that's usually the issue. Last week against the New Orleans Saints, I thought that was a situation where the Saints are one of the worst teams in football against quarterbacks, the Falcons being the other. And I was like, all right, what can I think of for what's Teddy Bridgewater going to be? Well, he needs to have the volume there. Last week, even in a game that had pretty competitive nature with New Orleans, he had only thrown 28 times, but you have those receivers, Anderson and DJ Moore in most weeks are kind of locked in as wide receiver 2s. Going to jump up to wide receiver 1s for me this week. But I think this is a spot for him to have actually a 30 plus attempts sort of night, which is really something he's kind of only flirted with. Of the 7 games, only 4 have been. I think he hits that number again tonight. I think we're going to see 2+ touchdowns at him. And I very much don't like predicting touchdowns, right? But the Atlanta Falcons, kind of anything is possible. And it's normally for the opposing team because we don't know how to play special teams. Again, Falcons fan, you can't hurt me. They make millions. I don't, but I'm used to the pain. I'm numb to it. But Teddy Bridgewater, and again, I'm going to look like a loon here. Teddy Bridgewater over Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
I cannot get behind a game that you can't tell me they're going to play 4 quarters of. I know from the start of this game to the end, time ticks off the clock. This game's competitive, and this game has some of the worst defenses, I think, passing wise. It's a little bit different with how our Carolina is. They've been kind of a bend don't break sort of offense. They're not giving up 30+ points. They're giving up around the double, only around 20 or less. This could be an actual Thursday night shootout. And Teddy Bridgewater has just been kind of a pedestrian option. I think he's a very good option this week. So sleeper again, maybe a little. I could pull out kicker stuff if you want, but I think Teddy Bridgewater actually, he jumps up this week. I think he takes a different step, and of course, he's going to throw 4 picks. But
that's how it works.
Yeah, we thought Kirk Cousins was going to be fine in that Minnesota game, and then literally the first throw of the game is going the other way. Yeah. So, but yeah, Teddy Bridgewater, again, if we wanted to go really, really deep, is Reggie Bonifant still on this team? Yeah, I could pull out some random names if you want. But
no, I get what you're saying, and I think it's a good point. I think it depends on what type of league and what your expectations are, Bridgewater. I think he's a good sleeper in QB1 leagues. In Superflex league, he's played his way into, he's an every week starter, but QB1 weeks, I think he is a good sleeper. I think that's a good point.
Yeah. Again, yeah, if you really want to go really deep, but otherwise, I thought it was going to help the people out. So
that's what we're here for. That's the main thing.
Help. For me, it's Curtis Samuel. I think he's, left some dust a bit with Moore and Anderson there and everything. This is a fun stat I looked up. Since week 2, he's dropped exactly 1 pass. He has at least 5 targets the past 2 weeks. They involve him in the running game a little bit with CMC being out. So I feel that he can have a good game with Matt having a good point that these defenses are atrocious. So I think that if he can get a couple targets, they can really do something with them this week.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I like that.
All right, it's time for our favorite segment. It's Call Your Shot time. So for this, Matt, you get a player you like this week, and you make a bold prediction with them. We have this little bet going between me and Jay at the end of the year. Whoever has the most correct gets to name the other person's Twitter avatar for the entirety of the playoffs.
Okay.
I'm currently winning 2-1. Ha 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 ha.
We still got plenty of time.
So Jay, you want to go first on this?
Yeah. I think, and tell me if you don't think it's bold enough. I think it is the way he's played and how he's not guaranteed touches. I think that Le'Veon Bell is going to finish as a running back 1 this week. I think I think the revenge game narrative is going to reign true, and as bad as the Jets are, I don't think they're going to want to play CEH a lot. I think Bell's going to have a big game.
For me, I'm going to go with Rashard Higgins. I think he finishes in the top 24 scoring in PPR. I think that last week he had a really good game. I think with Odell being gone, he has a good rapport with Manziel. So I think that Landry's kind of been hit or miss all year. So I think that Higgins can have a really good week.
So, remind me if I'm wrong. Are you a Eagles fan?
Me? Yes.
He is.
I am.
Okay. You're going to like this one.
All right.
Carson Wentz is a top 3 option at quarterback. The only ones who outscore Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. I love Carson Wentz this week. I
like that too because I have Wentz all over in fantasy.
Same.
So I'll gladly take
this week. If you're someone who can drop 30-something points against Baltimore, and you're having basically a floor of 23 fantasy points the past few weeks, this was at one point we're calling for his head. We want him out. We think he's done. They're getting the reinforcements back. Miles Sanders might even play this week. We're getting Jalen Reagor back. You know how excited I am to see Jalen Reagor again play? Dallas Goedert, it might not be this week, maybe after the bye, but this team is just kind of putzing along at the beginning of the year. Well, hey, you know what? If you play San Francisco, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh back to back to back, I don't know what you're supposed to do. But now you get to have the Giants on Thursday night, and you get to go and play Dallas on Sunday night, right? They're the Sunday night game.
Yeah.
So you're going to have them in prime time put up what 45 points on Dallas, and it doesn't seem that crazy because Dallas is allowing on average 20 points in the first half. So Carson Wentz, top 3 option for me.
And that being said, Carson Wentz is for me. If you can pick him up, he is somebody you want to buy right now. As we're talking about it, let me pull up my notes real quick from yesterday.
I actually picked him up in a guillotine league I'm in. I dropped a Breeze for him and picked him up and started.
Schedule is ridiculous. Yeah, he's got Dallas this week, then a bye. Then it's the Giants, Cleveland, Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans, Arizona, and Dallas in the championship week.
The Eagles are league winners. I've been talking about this on my personal podcast, Damn Good Fantasy Football. If I can plug that, I don't know if I can.
Absolutely.
So they have the easiest combined schedules. If you take the rankings of opponents, right, and CBS uses a little metric there about so first is the hardest matchup, 32nd is the easiest matchup, right, in terms of average fantasy points given to opposing teams. I took the aggregate of that all together. So they list out as 104, right? The lowest being, I believe, Seattle at 30. They're the only team who has a combined schedule easiness of over 100. They have the easiest in terms of top 5 in all the major categories, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. It is going to be a possible. Carson Wentz is the quarterback to own down the stretch this season. New Orleans, one of the worst teams against quarterbacks. Arizona, they're just allowing just all competitive games. Dallas in the fantasy championship. Now, again, 5% of people make it to that. But listen, Seattle and the Green Bay and Cleveland and the Giants, these are all bottom 15 teams. They're at least the league average or better for quarterbacks. Carson Wentz, and I told people to drop him after week 1, and he should have been. But guess what? He's going to win your fantasy championship. It's going to happen.
I have them all over, so I like to hear that. I just got to make the playoffs, so we'll see about that.
You are my favorite person, Matt, of all time.
Hey, all right.
Jay who?
I'll remember that.
Before we wrap up tonight, we like to do this little thing with the people that come on. We know, Matt, an interesting fact about you that the fantasy football community may not know.
Interesting fact about me. Oh, man. What is
We're
that?
putting you on the spot since you weren't expected to be on with us. So something that the fantasy community doesn't know. So just for example, give you a chance to think, I'll burn some time. Troy used to rap in college, apparently. Mike? Yeah, Mike, I'm sorry, it's all Matt. Mike Biella used to powerlift, right? He was powerlift competitions.
Are you not here at these shows with our guests? Like, what are you doing?
You know what?
Pay attention.
You get no, and what was
I was
Adam Rodas was a teacher at one point, right?
He was a teacher, yes.
Man, I was gonna say like what's something interesting about me, because the interesting now is that I'm doing this sort of stuff. Because it used to be like I used to want to be an officer. I used to go to school to be a cop. Then wasn't a big fan of that. And I transferred out. I wanted to try and make video games. And then I was terrible at that because I can't draw at all. So I'm like, all right, well, I like fantasy football. I'm good at fantasy football. What's some other thing? Let's stick with the video games, right? I was semi-pro at one point for a game called Hearthstone. So a game that has millions of people in it. Right? I'm a big video game player. I'm a big nerd, right? We're talking about Star Trek, right? I think
who's as deep into fantasy football as the fantasy football Twitter community all has a little bit of nerd in them.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have to have a little bit of a vice, and playing those card games is definitely my thing. It's a card game, Hearthstone, right? I'm pretty actively I think it's got a fan base of like about 50 million people. I think 30 million that are in the US, and I think I'm pretty much ranked monthly in the top 1,000 out of 30 million people. So I'll take that. That's pretty interesting, right?
That's really impressive.
That is for sure.
When I have the time to, and when I'm not doing all of this fun stuff, and I mean, hell, look, I was playing video games before you guys even called me on. I was just like, oh, okay, here we go. Big old nerd. So,
all right, and the last thing, the most important thing of the show. Every week with our guests, we ask the most important question: who is the GOAT, Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
See, here's the thing, right? The day.
Oh, and we lost.
He was going to say LeBron James. That's what happened.
Did he just get cut off?
There he is. Nope, he's back.
We've had some technical difficulties.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
I was like, oh, they don't want to even hear the answer. That's fine.
Did you cut him off then?
No, I didn't.
I don't know if you heard. I was greeted by that argument when I joined the company.
That's right. Oh yeah, I told you. So we're not normally like this. So it's a running argument that we have with going for two, and that's why we kind of threw this in as a fun thing at the end of our shows. So that's where this all started from. I agree that Michael Jordan is the GOAT, but we will like to hear your opinion as well, even if it's wrong.
Who says Jordan's the GOAT?
These two.
Oh. So here's the issue. I'm going to take a very Switzerland sort of take on this, right?
Okay.
So you're talking about two different eras. You're talking about two different styles of game, right? I mean, I know Michael Jordan didn't have the longevity that LeBron currently has. I think that the issue we have with comparing generations in sports is that the further along in human history you go, the faster, the stronger, the bigger, the more advanced technology gets and all that. For the time he is playing in, and the way basketball is currently played, I would have to go with LeBron. Even stating that I think Michael Jordan was the best player until LeBron existed. I don't know. We have go like Wilt Chamberlain, right? Wilt Chamberlain just every single game was just dropping 80 points.
Kyle is going to love you for saying that because that's who Kyle Senra. It's on the Monday night show. He filled in last week. That was his vote. He said Wilt Chamberlain, and he always brings him up. So Kyle's going to be very happy to hear that.
I'm here to please. I have to go with LeBron currently with the way sports are playing. I can't even go with, LeBron's had super teams. Well, he's had to face super teams. And MJ, as what he is, Scottie Pippen and, having the defensive prowess of Rodman, like that team was fantastic on its own right as well. Like I can't, it's hard, right? Because you're comparing like literally the same, it feels like the same guy. It's not like we're comparing like Eli Manning, who won 2 Super Bowls, to like, I was going to say Ben Roethlisberger. He hasn't won 2 Super Bowls, has he?
Nope.
I was going to say Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't won 2 Super Bowls, has he? Like, that's the thing. Like, that's silly. But you're going to like
Rodgers.
Championships are weird too. I think first off, football championships and football playoffs are very bad. I'd rather have. I don't think saying that Eli Manning being good for 4 quarters in the middle of February makes him an excellent player.
Tread lightly here. You're supposed to come back on first. You said LeBron, and now
it was fun coming on. It was fun company. I guess I will lose your number. That's how it works. Well, I'm gonna have to go with LeBron, and again, the reason being the way basketball is currently played. It's tough. Again, it's tough. I'm normally not a fan of this argument. I'm just not is a scorer better than an all-around player? Like, you're comparing like a guy like Kobe to a player who was just like, it was Kobe better than Robin because Robin didn't score points. That's not what he did. He got rebounds and he played defense. Kobe, all he did was just offense all the time. So who's the better player? It's kind of like, and basketball is different just because it's such a centered game. It's 5 guys in the court at any one time. So then you're just hyper focused. But again, I would have to go with LeBron the way how currently we're running it, and he carried the Cavs early. Like, those early Cavs team was the next best player was like Ilgakis or whatever. Like, it's tough. And again, I get it. Like, MJ, no one was more important than MJ when he was playing in like the world than like Michael Jackson. That was it. It was Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan, and like no one else in the world mattered at that point. LeBron, he kind of gets a little bit less of that because you have all these other sports. It's not like we're talking like Mike Trout, who like half the country doesn't even know exists and is the best player ever played in sport. So
yeah, it's ridiculous. Yep. Yeah, with social media and everything, and there's so much more. Back then it was whatever was on TV or on the radio. That's all you had. There, majority of the time he was playing, there was no internet. Like, as hard as that is to believe.
That's the thing. Like, Michael Jordan was that big without me knowing about it on Twitter at my fingertips.
Imagine Twitter was around for Michael Jordan playing, and
that would have been crazy.
Unreal. But.
So what I got from that is 4 quarters does not make Eli Manning a Hall of Famer. Thank you. Thank you. See, that's the key takeaway from that.
Another story for another day. That's all right.
All right, Matt. So why don't you let us know where we can find you on Twitter and what you're up to?
You can find me at Methodical1 because the Methodical handle is owned by a man in South Carolina who's been inactive for 8 years. So it's at Methodical1. And again, you can now check me out at both damngoodff.com if you want to look at my personal ranks and check out my podcast, Damn Good FF Podcast. I host it 3 days a week, 4 episodes. So we have Tuesday, Wednesday, and a double up on Friday, but the second one posts on Saturday. And at goingfor2.com with you guys.
There we go.
That's right.
Just came on recently. Happy to have you.
Absolutely. Jay, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at gmanj. I do a weekly 10 Things article at goingfor2.com, as well as this show every Thursday with my partner in crime, Dan. Next week, we're going to have Chris Meany of FTN Network on with us. He's a great guy. I've been a fan of his for a while and got a pretty good relationship with him. He agreed to join us, so he's going to hop on next week with us next Thursday at 7. And I also do a start sit for Sleeper Wire. You can expect that to come out, if not the end today, sometime tomorrow.
All right, you can find me at EagleDanFF on Twitter. As Jay said, I'm on this show every Thursday telling them how bad the Giants suck. You can also find my rookie rankings on goingfor2.com. I'd like to thank everyone that had questions today. We had really great questions.
You can comment. That's what we want this to be, is mainly, viewer engagement and questions. So
everyone going through with our technical difficulties. I know we had a couple. So we will see you all next week. Enjoy Thursday night.
Yeah, just kicked off.